Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from View Interaction 5119 from the OffMyChest subreddit. Get this title. My boyfriend farted in my face as a joke in front of our friends. A week later, he still hasn't contacted me. My boyfriend, 21 male, and I, 22 female, were hanging out with a group of friends at someone's house. Everyone was joking around and some of the guys were farting and burping as dumb jokes. I wasn't a fan of it, but I laughed along because everyone else was. I was lying on the floor and my boyfriend was sitting next to me. He started farting for fun. I looked disgusted and told him to stop, but instead he leaned over and farted directly in my face. Everyone burst out laughing. I immediately yelled at him, pushed him away, hit him in the chest, and hid under a blanket because I felt completely humiliated. People kept laughing and saying things like, "He farted in his girlfriend's face." What hurt the most was that my boyfriend was laughing too. He tried to hug me and called me babe right when he saw I hid under the blanket. But I pushed him away again and went to sit alone in another room. He never came to me to apologize that day. On the drive home, he didn't speak to me at all and acted like I was the one who had done something wrong for yelling at him in front of everyone. When I got home, I blocked him on the app we normally use to chat. I was so mad because he was giving me the silent treatment the whole time instead of apologizing. He only did it once when I pushed him away. He stopped and never came to me again and acted like I was the one to blame. I didn't block his phone number or my other social media accounts, so he still had plenty of ways to contact me if he wanted to. I also unfollowed his Instagram too. It's been a week now, and we still haven't spoken. He hasn't made a single attempt to contact me. Only had 2 of his friends, not those from that day, and both of them unfollowed and removed me from Instagram. Less than 4 days after everything happened, he started following 3 new girls and they had private accounts, and they followed him back. Since then, he's continued following more girls, and today I noticed another new one. I unfollowed and removed him the day we argued, but I can still tell who he's following because they keep showing up in his Instagram suggestions. Honestly feel like I'm dying inside. I've done nothing but cry this entire week, while it feels like he's already moved on and is talking to other girls as if our relationship meant nothing. Until yesterday, I refused to follow any guys because I didn't want to become the kind of person I thought he was becoming. I wanted to respect what we had. But now it feels like, to him, the relationship is completely over, and he's never coming back. Part of me wants to start following guys just to see if he'd react, but another part of me feels like that would only make me no different from him. I genuinely don't know what to do anymore. I'm completely heartbroken. I can't even believe it's over. I just can't. We didn't just have a normal relationship. We were really close and he was my everything. I saw my future with him, and he also did. We were just going to celebrate our anniversary next month and invite everyone. How am I supposed to accept this and move on? So OP was replying to some of the comments. The first commenter just laughed and OP replied saying, "What's so funny?" Another one says, "Pretty sure you're broken up." OP says, "How am I supposed to accept this? Our relationship wasn't just some casual relationship. We were incredibly close. We saw each other every single night because neither of us could stand going even one night without seeing the other. We just made the best memories together and experienced everything together, just the 2 of us. We had even just come back from a trip together, and after that trip I felt even more in love with him. Honestly can't handle this amount of pain. I don't know how I'm supposed to accept that someone who was my whole world just disappeared from my life like this." Legitimate says, "He humiliated you in public, gave you the silent treatment instead of apologizing, and is now playing mind games by following other girls. This shows a complete lack of respect. Move on and fuck that guy." OP responded saying, "You're right. I keep trying to remind myself that he humiliated me in front of his friends for fun and never said sorry. But also, I felt like I overreacted because everyone told me to calm down and stop making a big deal out of it. It's been a week since that day. He hasn't tried to reach out and he followed a bunch of pretty girls and it's killing me inside. The thing is, it shifted the focus away from what he did to me and it turned into a discussion about the girls he followed. Now all I want to do is know if he is doing it on purpose or he just never loved me." Commenter says, "You block him and he's giving you the silent treatment. Yeah, what he did was reprehensible, but you are playing games too. Break up and grow up." Commenter replied to that saying, "That's how I read it too. Both of them are a little immature, but they are young. Opie says, may I ask you, how am I young? Wouldn't you get mad if a person you love and respect farted in your face in front of everyone for fun? Wouldn't you want an apology? Wouldn't you block them for giving you the silent treatment instead of asking for your forgiveness? I'm just asking though. Opie went on to say, I'm not playing games at all. When we were on our way home, it was just the two of us. He didn't say a word to me, and he didn't even look at me. I was expecting him to apologize to me at least, but he just gave me the silent treatment. And when he dropped me off at home and I got out of the car, he sped off like he was the one who had every right to be angry, as if I was the one who had done something wrong. Would you not have blocked him? Or would you have gone home and politely asked him to respect you and not fart in your face again? Commenter says, wasn't this the exact same thing posted already? Or is there a surplus of dudes excited about pink eye? Opie says, yes, it was me. I posted it 7 days ago, but I deleted it because I was afraid that maybe my ex sees it. Also, I posted this one to ask others why he's following other girls right after breakup. Also, when I posted it 7 days ago, I was expecting him to contact me in a few days, and it's been a week, and it's hurting me like crazy. So I decided to post another one and mention the girls too. So Opie did update the post and says, I still can't believe this. I just can't. I gave an entire year of my life to this man. He wasn't just my boyfriend, he was like my father. What? My best friend, my family, my safe place. We spent almost every night together, and every single corner of my life is filled with memories of him. Every memory hits me out of nowhere, and I just start crying. He always talked about our future. Just 2 or 3 days before we broke up, we went on a 3-day trip together and made some of the happiest memories of my life. He kissed my hand and said, I'm so happy I have you. Please never leave me. Whenever we argued before, we'd make up within a day or two. Even if he blocked me, I'd call him several times and apologize and try to fix everything. 3 weeks ago, we had an argument about him farting in my face in front of our friends for fun, and I snapped and yelled at him, and he gave me the silent treatment, and he was angry, as if I was guilty for yelling at him. For the first time, I blocked him when I got home because I wanted to see if he would fight for me the way I always fought for him. Instead, within 4 days, he started following a bunch of girls. He even messaged one of my friends and sent her sexual messages, saying he had been lonely for a long time, asking her to have sex with him and telling her he'd do anything for her if she got with him. And he found out about that 2 weeks later. So I unblocked him and texted him. All I said was, whatever you are doing, please leave my friends out of it. His response completely destroyed me. He immediately insulted me and my mother and called us very bad names, cursed at me, told me to get lost, called me horrible names, threatened to come to my house and hurt me if I ever contacted him again, and then sent me a photo of himself sitting at home with another girl. They were cuddling and drinking alcohol together. Right after sending the picture, he blocked me. I was in so much shock that I couldn't even reply. It's been 5 days since that happened and I'm still in complete shock. I keep asking myself, what did I do to deserve this? Why? What happened to all those conversations about our future? What happened to all those memories? How can someone change this much in just a few days? The worst part is, despite everything he did, I still miss him. Part of me still wants to message him and ask, why did you do this to me? I didn't deserve this. I know I'll probably never get an honest answer, but I can't stop wondering how someone who once begged me not to leave could become so cruel so quickly. Not gonna lie, when I saw he was like my father in the start of that update, I was like, oh dearie me. But I don't think there's much more to say than you're better off out of that, because the behavior after the breakup, with everything in between as well, humiliating her, messaging her friend, insulting her and her mother, threatening her, sending her a photo of another girl. This wasn't a change overnight. This was a side of him that was likely always there. And it's better off finding out now who he really is rather than later down the line. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from A Symptom of Life from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and says, am I the arsehole for not helping a student of mine after he stole my customer? I'm an artist who makes and teaches students how to make stained glass windows. One of my students found out that I was about to start a window for a couple that he now knows through another friend, and then convinced the couple to drop me and go with him to make the window. I had already drawn a quarter-size sketch to see if it was something the customer wanted, and now my student expects me to draw it out full-sized and actually help him make it. It's too large to work on in class. We've always had a maximum size limitation that this almost doubles. Working on a window this size would displace another student. Also, I'm supposed to store the window week to week so he won't have to lug it back and forth from home since it's so large. Am I the arsehole for telling him it can't be worked on in the shop and that I'm not drawing a full-size pattern 57 by 34 for him? I told him he could have a copy of the sketch. Win or lose, I plan on showing him this. Bloody cheeky so-and-so. Someone says update? No questions have been addressed. What are you going to do? Opie says I will show him all this on Monday when I see him and post an update. I'm not going to allow it. Never planned to, but what I'm changing is my giving him the rough drawing. In all honesty, it wouldn't help him much at all, but you're all correct. Why help him at all? It will be interesting dealing to see what the customers do when my student tells them they can't do the window. A commenter says, not the arsehole. Does he even have the ability to deliver without using your resources? Nectar says, if he needs OP's shop, storage, patter and guidance, then he isn't really doing the job himself. Commenter replies saying he just wants to use OP to do the work while he reaps the rewards. OP, be careful. Your student reminds me of the employees who leaves and start their own business and then become their employer's biggest competitors. After learning everything from them, they steal their customers, which makes your student even more shameless because he's doing this while he's under you. A commenter says to OP, not the arsehole, and I would not be helping him. You didn't bite the hand that feeds you, and he needs a lesson in commercial reality. Griffin replies saying, bro is incredibly entitled. He undercut OP for the commission and now expects OP to do the hardest parts of the project. Change says not the arsehole, but do not give him the sketch you drew. Maybe offer to sell it to him at a premium price, but I would not even do that. It's not a project for his teaching, so he would not be able to work on it or store in the shop. And do not help him with making the project, no matter how much he asks you. Punk Rock says, not the arsehole, but why on earth would you help him by giving him a copy of the work you already did and aren't ever going to be paid for? Homie can figure all of it out for his damn self. If he didn't have a plan, he shouldn't have poached the work. And one more comment who says, wait, so they have the job and commission doing a stained glass window for these people. I will tell him they took that work away from you and they're on their own. I would not give him the sketch. Let him do his own work. They need to do their own design and not steal from your work. They need to find a place to do that work because your workshop is not their workshop and it's not a storage facility for their private commissions. You are not investing any of your labor into their paid commission work. This is not a student project. They took away a commission from you. I would not assist them in any way. I would not allow them to use my workshop. If it is yours, they don't get to store their private commission in your workshop either. Thou shall not steal. And absolutely, with the comments on this one, the entitlement is absolutely wild. So he poached OP's commission, took the customer for himself, and then expected OP to provide the design, the workshop, and the storage space, and the actual guidance to actually complete it. I mean, what the fuck? At that point, what exactly is the student bringing to the table besides just getting paid? I would love to have seen that student's face approaching you with doing some of this work. I don't get it. What kind of logic is that? The cheeky bloody so-and-so. But OP does update the post and says, so I just had class with a student and he was sure he was going to work on this oversized window that he didn't have a pattern for. I honestly couldn't believe that he hadn't at least texted me about it during the week, but I guess that says something on its own about him. He walked in the door a half hour early, and before he could say anything, I flat out told him that he could not make the window in my class, and that he was free to do it on his own because, as he knows, I'd been told to hold off on the job. I'd already told him last week that he couldn't work on a window that size in class, but he more or less refused to hear me. What? Still, I made it perfectly clear, and although I wasn't actually going to show him the replies here, he got so adamant about it being my job to help him that I ended up showing him some of them. First off, he feels that I made him look bad because he hadn't actively pursued the job himself. He was referred to the couple by a common friend that they had. I said that I did mention that, but he feels that I didn't stress it enough. I went over the size limitation again and the fact that the only thing that the customer and I had agreed upon was a price and an extremely rough sketch of an idea that took me all of 15 minutes to make. I explained that I certainly wasn't about to spend any more time on fleshing the sketch out after I was informed by the couple that I should hold off on the design. It was 2 days after this fact, last Monday, that Ray informed me that he was taking over the job, which left me sort of tongue-tied. Still, I explained to him very politely that I couldn't allow him to work on this commission in my class in my studio. When I mentioned tonight that the sketch was out of the question, he got angry and still doesn't understand why I wouldn't help him or allow him to make the window in my shop. As others were filtering in, he started getting louder and caused a bit of a scene. I've drawn patterns for him in the past, but he can't understand why I won't help him on this. He says that I'll make more money from him if he makes the window. But I certainly won't, because he's never going to be able to do this on his own. If anything, I'm saving the customer from a pitiful window. So the other students ended up hearing exactly what was going on. It's a one-room class, and although 2 of them stayed quiet, the others told him that he was being ridiculous. The woman on the same table as him asked what she was supposed to do while he was using the entire table for himself. He didn't answer. I kept my cool, but I have to admit that at times I was getting a bit loud, and then I'd catch myself. So yeah, he turned around and walked out. This was his last class of the month, and I'm not going to allow someone who doesn't see how wrong a thing they did to come back into my class. I just wonder what the customer will do. My flabbers are absolutely ghastly at this. I'm just trying to picture the scene of this student approaching OP with this plan. Like, I've just taken your work from you, and now I want your space, I want you to work on it at the same time, I want your drawing to be able to create this. And the guy still can't see that he's done nothing wrong and walked out of the class even when other students are shaming him for it. That's a wild ass attitude, honestly. I wonder if those customers will come back to OP in the end. Maybe OP should double the price, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the relationship advice subreddit from Ace Jackson, who says, I, 29 male, showed up to my girlfriend's 25 female house and found her hanging out with a guy from class at 2 a.m. This is a throwaway for the obvious reasons. I had plans to hang out with my girlfriend after her class tonight around 9 to 10 p.m. So I texted her something nice around that time to let her know that I was thinking of her and see when she would be done. No response. She texts me hi a couple of hours later. I responded, hey, what's up? At this point, a little upset, she had blown me off for hours past the time she said she would hit me up after class. No response again, this time for the rest of the night. I was starting to get worried because I know she leaves campus late and it can be sketchy in that area sometimes. I text her and call her a couple more times and no response. At this point, I'm definitely worried and text her I'm going to stop by to make sure she's all good. She's a girl and lives alone and just 5 minutes from me. So I swing by and all the lights are on. I walk up to the front door and knock. She comes out looking surprised, steps outside, oddly. I say what's up and I was worried you weren't okay. I never heard back from you and you kind of bailed on our plans. She then says, oh sorry, I've been hanging out with some friends from school. So I ask, is someone in there right now? And she tries to casually play off, yeah, there is a guy from class over. We've been hanging out talking about our class. Mind you, it's 2 a.m. She then asks me to come in and if I want to meet him. I say yes. I come in and meet this guy who looks a bit startled. Introduce myself and then they start catching me up on what they were talking about. My girlfriend is acting pretty odd, like super casual, like the fact that I just showed up at 1:30 a.m. after she's been ignoring me and there's a random guy I don't know there. She's acting like it's no big deal. Within 20 minutes I decide I'm going home and ask her to walk me out. I then ask her to make the guy leave because there's no reason to be there that late. She says no, we're in the middle of a conversation. I try explaining to her this isn't cool with me and makes me uncomfortable, and she doesn't seem to care one bit. She just says, I'm not going to argue with you while there is someone right here. We can talk tomorrow, and then walks back inside. I tried not to make a scene and be respectful of her house, while still letting her know it wasn't cool. Am I crazy, or are those serious red flags and I am being naive here? I have to talk to her tomorrow and I'm not sure how to approach this. So a commenter starts off with red flag saying not cool bro, not cool, not at all. I don't know how it is with other people, but even my friends and I barely hang out past 2 a.m. That's sleeping time already. This is sketchy to me. Bring it up again, but be respectful. She'll say what she feels for sure, or you'll know how she feels about you being uncomfortable with it once she starts talking. OP responds saying I agree. I want to come at it from a respectful angle and see if she even cares at all that this is very upsetting to me and doesn't make me feel comfortable at all. She tries to say how she has guy friends and always has. I'm totally cool with that, but there has to be a line of what's appropriate with that, yeah? Commenter says, are you really cool with her having guy friends if that means you're going to have to find her in potentially intimate situations with them? She ignored you, then showed pretty obvious discomfort being caught, because she knows it's not a monogamous activity. Having friends in a relationship is fine as long as the friendships are appropriate. Your problem seems to be no boundaries and the assumption that trust will cover inappropriate situations and actions. You can't keep trusting someone who severely tests your trust by seeming untrustworthy. There is no reason to fly off the handle. You may have found a glaring incompatibility with her. I would ask her seriously what she wants from your relationship and see if it matches up with what you are looking for. If she wants a serious committed relationship, there are usually boundaries that come with that. Opie responds saying, I agree completely. I do need to examine that and let those things be known. I'm completely fine with having guy friends. I really like some of them and would never care if she told me she was hanging out with them one night. But to completely ignore me and then be hanging out that late with someone I've never met and she just met, that's crossing a line in my opinion. Commenter says, just want to preface that I try to give neutral advice as I want things to work out between you. I think all of that would be fine if she didn't completely blow you off. That's the red flag here. You all made plans, but she cancelled so she can hang out with some guy from class and seemed to ignore you most of the time. It's possible her communication skills aren't the best, but I can't say for sure. Either way, just talk to her and tell her how it made you feel. If she sympathizes with you, then great. If she gets defensive, then that opens up another conversation. Opie said I'm going to do my best with that tomorrow. Hopefully she can understand where I'm coming from and hear me out. I'm worried she may get defensive because she can tend to do that. She likes to turn issues I bring up around on me or invalidate my feelings by saying she doesn't agree with something being inappropriate. So not sure how to navigate those roads if that's the way she's going to take it. A commenter who was downvoted quoted Opie saying, mind you it's 2 a.m, then says, in your world, what time do students usually go to bed? Because that would have been pretty normal when I was at university. Quotes again saying, are those serious red flags? And then says, yeah, showing up at her house uninvited at 2 a.m. is a major red flag, as is being jealous of her having a conversation with a classmate. She should definitely dump you. Opie responded saying, I had plans to hang out with her and then all I heard from her was starting a conversation with, hi, and then radio silence. I think it's pretty normal to be worried about your girlfriend after that and want to make sure they're alright. Commenter replied saying, not really. I mean, did she have plans to hang out with you? Because it sounds like she didn't. She had class and a discussion with classmates, and you asked her to text you when she was done, and she wasn't done. Opie responded saying, we had plans to hang out after class, which was around 9 p.m, and even if she wanted to cancel those plans, I would figure she would at least text me that. Give me some type of heads up. To just completely ignore me was definitely odd. Another commenter who was downvoted says, info. How long have you all been dating? And does she normally blow you off or doesn't respond immediately sometimes? I understand that you're concerned, and it may seem a bit odd that she had a guy at her place at 2 a.m, but from my 22 female experience in college, I could be out with classmates studying and hanging out until 3 or 4 a.m. You said it was a sketchy area. Maybe he walked her home and they kept talking. She wasn't necessarily cheating or getting ready to cheat. I often don't like checking my phone if I'm busy or enthralled in a conversation with someone, especially if it's good or interesting. The best thing to do is to talk to her about it later. Try not to come off as jealous sounding, like you're annoyed with her having a guy over, and more like you're annoyed that she didn't respond because you were concerned about her. Opie says, I feel like those things are totally justified and I'm okay with that. I just find it odd that there was zero communication to me about it. We've been dating 1 year, and if she was going to be hanging out with a friend after class, she would usually just let me know, and then I could make other plans, no sweat. There was just too many weird coincidences in this one that don't have me feeling the best about it. Curly Hair says, I recently started a new relationship. Prior to my relationship, I was super flirty. After establishing myself as a girlfriend, I find myself constantly being aware of what's appropriate and what's not, even when my partner wouldn't know or isn't around to see it. Even though I know I'm being friendly, being alone at home with a classmate at 2 a.m. doesn't look right. Who cares if we're talking about donuts? I know that my partner would feel uncomfortable, which would then make me feel uncomfortable. Opie responds saying, thank you for understanding this. This is the exact point to that. Even if nothing was going on that first night, it made me really uncomfortable and even more so in the way she handled it. When I'm with someone, I want to make them feel secure in our relationship, not wondering if I'm seeing other people behind their back. I think it's normal to worry sometimes, especially with a history of trust issues with the person, but someone who cares for you would make it a priority to make sure you feel comfortable with situations like that. One more commenter says, I thought you were a teen, but you're almost 30. I guess better late than never, but your girlfriend is currently teaching you about boundaries and how to put your foot down. Not a fun way to learn, but life lessons are painful. Opie says, the boundaries thing was something I was aware of since I was in a long relationship prior to this one as well. But my last relationship was actually loving. I never had those boundaries crossed with no regard. I did learn the lesson that putting your foot down to them is really the only choice when people start taking advantage of you. So Opie comes in with an update and said this all happened a couple of days before what would have been our anniversary. I obviously should have seen the signs from the first post, but the first part of this update is letting you guys know that I initially did not end the relationship. What a regret. How I handled it was, we met the next morning to talk and I let her explain her side of things. She explained that other people were at the house that night earlier, and she was going to be hanging around with kids from class sometimes now that school has started. Keep in mind that she is 25 and going back to school now, and most of these kids are around 19 to 22. Nothing super serious as far as class load is concerned. She is studying theatre at a community college. I explained to her why all the signs point to that being a major red flag. She somewhat hears me out and apologizing for not better communicating her plans that night, but defends herself that hanging out with friends from class is not wrong. So in the future, she would communicate better about her plans and do a better job not making me feel concerned. I was obviously angry and upset about the previous situation, but I did truly love this girl and was willing to give things a chance to progress forward and her show me the positive changes. We had continued our relationship and everything was going good for the most part. Then recently communication did not seem to be going the best, and there were some signs that she wasn't giving as much effort into the things we spoke about before as she had promised to do. There were signs of her actively trying to pick fights and perpetuating them longer than needed, even when I had made attempts to reconcile and move forward from any arguments. I did feel heavily at this time that she was not respecting me in these conversations, and any attempts I made to lovingly let her know this met with hostility, which she then would attempt to turn right back on me, like it was my fault the fight even happened. This was getting old, but I was still making every effort to bring us back to a good space, on a more everyday basis, because I was wildly in love with this girl and a connection I thought we shared. The deceiving thing as well is that she was also very good at making me feel at other times she felt the same way about me. You're the love of my life, I love you more than anything. Future plans together, talking about how lucky she was to be with me, etc. These were all exploited to be absolute lies. Fast forward to a few nights ago. We had plans to hang out that night, and when I asked her earlier in the day what she wanted to do, she told me she had actually agreed to go get sushi with a friend she hadn't seen in a while. I let her know this upset me since she was bailing on our plans, but in attempts to be understanding, I then suggested we meet up after instead and go out that night to do something fun. She did not give me a definite answer but kept bouncing around the subject, saying she would keep me updated on when she was finished. I let her know, hey, you don't cancel plans with your boyfriend, then when he's cool about it and tries to suggest something else, leave him up in the air by saying maybe we can hang. It makes me feel like not a priority and isn't how you treat someone you love. She ends up going off on me again, and we leave on terms of okay, we'll just talk later. I call later and let her know that after dinner it would mean a lot if we could spend some quality time together. I've been wanting that since all the time we were hanging out was during the day with other stuff going on sometimes. She calls me after dinner around 9:30 p.m. and lets me know she is home. I ask her to come hang out so we can figure out what to do, and she deflects with, oh, my other friend, the girl who I know, wanted to go to a midnight showing of a movie tonight and I haven't seen her in so long. I know I may seem completely stupid to you guys at this point, but I assure you, I was already seeing through her bullshit and knew something wasn't right. I keep calm and let her know I think that was messed up, bums me out, and that I wish she would at least try to include me with her friends when doing stuff like that. She then takes to the level of trying to make me feel bad that I can't just be understanding. She maybe wants to hang out with her friends without me sometimes. She tells me she will call me after the movie and asks if I can come over and spend the night with me after it's finished. Meanwhile, I knew I had friends going out that night as well. I could go grab some drinks with them, finish up around the same time and then meet back at my house to spend the night together. I did not tell her I was going out because it did not seem relevant at the time and had some weird suspicions that something else was going on. 1:45 a.m. rolls around and I'm leaving the bar with some friends to grab a burrito before heading home. I walk down the street and lo and behold, there she is on the corner of the street standing with a guy. One of the same guys from that night at the house in my original post. Shocker, I know. I confront her and ask her what's going on. She attempts to even further lie, explain how her girlfriend was supposed to come. Like that makes it any better, lol. It isn't what it looks like, blah blah blah, same old bullshit lies and no accountability, even when caught in a dead lie on a date with another guy. I turn to the guy and ask him what's going on. He explains he invited to the movies and not much else. Looks kind of scared because I'm sure I was irate. I have no problem with him at all because it's 100% my then girlfriend's fault. I walk to the side with her and ask her to just be real with me for once, tell me what's going on, and comes to terms with who she is and what she has done here. She shuts down and when she realizes she can't talk her way out of things and tries to ask if we can talk tomorrow and not make a scene here. I tell her if you want to explain yourself then you can leave right now and I will at least hear you out. She says no, I'm not leaving my friend here alone. You're overreacting and it's not as bad as it looks. Even though I'm pretty hurt at this point, I can't help but to burst out in laughter at the disbelief of this whole thing now. I tell her this is it, and this relationship is fully done now then. Should have been done a while ago, but that seals the deal and I truly see you for who you are now. A lying, manipulative, actual sociopath. I left with my friends, blocked her on everything, and now moving forward for good. I do want to say though, I made a huge mistake in this whole scenario by not leaving when my gut told me to. So many signs pointed to her being fake, such a liar and not trustworthy at all. Probably let the good times and her manipulative words keep me around thinking that I just needed to make more effort myself to make things work. And it wasn't until I had fully given all of myself into trying that I was hit with the most disrespectful thing I've ever had done to me. Listen to your gut, people, and follow your intuition. If you're making clear efforts in a relationship with someone and they're giving you nothing back, creating fiction, and show no remorse in any of their mistakes, run for the hills. Even though I was very hurt by the deceit and catching someone cheat on me, I ultimately know this is 100% for the best and a huge blessing in disguise because this person never truly loved me the way I cared for them. Who knows how much longer I would have stuck around and let myself be treated like this. But I'm grateful it happened now, and there is no chance in hell I would ever give her a second of my time again. Sorry for the novel. It feels good to vent. Much love. And edit. I really appreciate all the positive response and feedback I've gotten here, as well as all the insightful messages I've received. I'm doing my best to respond to everyone who's taken the time to give me their input, positive or negative. Thank you. And edit too. For the people responding thinking I was making assumptions about the situation I walked up on that night, and defending that it could have been just a friend. Let me explain that there was no way it was not what it looked like. I did not include the whole dialogue exchange between us, but the guy did make it clear he was under the impression that they were on a date, which is when I walked away because it definitely contradicted a whole made-up story. I never understand people who cheat. If you want out of a relationship, just end it. Instead, she seemed determined to keep OP around as like the safe option while slowly checking out emotionally and seeing if there was, I guess, something better, air quotes, out there. And I know it's not the point, and I'm not trying to make light or anything of the situation, but who's got time or the emotional capacity for it as well to be dealing with multiple relationships? But it was all incredibly selfish from her, just keep feeding him enough sort of like affection or promises just to stop him from leaving, all while she's clearly invested in someone else at the same time, not allowing OP to move on. And although it must have been brutal to find out the way that OP did, I'm glad that he did find out in the end, because it does allow him to move on and move away from this toxicity. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it is absolutely amazing, and I'm forever thankful. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.